Hello and welcome to Ms. Susan's Permaculture Design. Kind of a glimpse into my world and how I put permaculture's principles into practice. So permaculture tells us design is of the essence. And there's this zoning that takes place in the design concept, where you look at where your activities are and where you're putting your most intensive effort, etc. So this will become more clear as we go through the zones in future videos. Zone 1 is here in the home. Zone 1 is your home, your immediate place that you live. And primary considerations in home life are food, how you eat, where you get energy from, heating, cooling, electricity, all our wonderful devices that need power, lighting. Of course, water and waste management are prime concerns on the ecologic front in the home. So let's explore some of what I'm doing. Food is indeed primary to me. Perhaps you've noticed how much I love to eat. So over the years, it took me a solid year to transition myself from a regular midnight on Sunday in Kroger grocery shopper to someone who sources as much as possible from local markets, local farmers. Local tends to be in the 100-mile radius. Some of my favorites, my staples here, beans. I used to buy beans out of a can. I had no idea how much better they were going to taste when they were organic. Most of my beans and grain come from Shagbark Hickory Mill, which is around the Athens area. They're wheat. Buy the whole oats. Need a nice blender or grinder to make the oat flour, right? I like to make crackers from seeds. I love crunchy, salty crackers. And yeah, you say, oh, this is going to take so much time. Well, going to the grocery store takes time. Earning mass money so that you can buy everything pre-made for you takes a lot of time too. Here's some staples, our oils, olive oil, vinegars for dressing. Some of my stuff I buy at Big Lots because it's cheaper. It may or may not be organic, but some of these things you have to look into and consider cost and benefit. Popcorn is a favorite snack also. I love the crunchy, salty. And again, getting non-GMO popcorn. Thank goodness for Shagbark Hickory. There's a man who goes there and buys, 5-gallon buckets full of these things and then provides them at our farmer's market. This is corn, maize, Indian corn I raised myself. So grinding and processing that into cornbread, a little bit intensive, but a fun project. Here's sage I've been drinking, making tea, reusable tea bag. I can't believe all the resources that are put into providing drinks. Some hickory nuts I forage. When I get hungry enough, I'll crack them open. So continuing on with food, obviously it helps to learn to enjoy cooking, which I absolutely do. And these are some of my essential utensils. And you're going to think this is a commercial for Pampered Chef, which maybe it is because they have wonderful products. I love their business model, enabling women to work in the home, have a career, and be a homemaker, and provide the means for women to have resources to do that more efficiently and enjoyably, and American-made. Pampered Chef is American-made products. Some of my indispensable things, the spatula to make sure I get every microgram out of the jar. Garlic press, I love garlic. Have you ever seen one of these before? Why do we need to burn a coal to open a can, for crying out loud? Salad, this oil sprayer, great, because it's refillable, right? Yeah, the salad scissors and the salad spinner, indispensable for me, who uses a lot of fresh greens. And of course, to blend my grain or process, a nice food processor or powerful blender is very important, and because I can't grind all day, right? Welcome inside my refrigerator. Not as full as it should be. Like to keep it stocked. Like to make many meals at once. The 4 P's of food ecology, if you will. Procuring food, preparing it, and preserving it. Refrigerator takes a big part in that. Freezer. Keep it stocked. Keep your staples stocked. Here's a few items from my refrigerator I'm particularly happy to share. Fab Ferments is a local fermenting business. A couple young kids up the highway here. This is kombucha. Perhaps you've heard about how important it is to eat fermented food. That's your probiotics. That's your gut. And in fact, here is some pickled okra. Pickling and fermenting was one of the lab activities I had planned for us when I thought we were going to be in the class together. So easy to ferment food. The way it was preserved for thousands of years. Just put it in brine, salt water. And before you know it, you are forming lactic acid, and you are promoting that lactobacilli, those probiotics your gut needs, and preserving your food in perpetuity. I'm particularly pleased with my herd share. This is raw milk delivered to my neighbor around the corner by a dairy farmer. Raw milk. You have to participate in a herd share. Not allowed to buy raw milk in Ohio, in many states, probably all states. And you know, my grandfather was a dairy farmer. He sold raw milk daily. Milked his cows in the morning and walked around and gave milk to the customers all afternoon. So, again, most delicious thing you ever tasted. If you like milk, you really haven't had it till you've had it raw. Kind of transitioning from the food stores in the kitchen to providing food. It's that time of year again. Starting to sprout some sweet potatoes to get in the garden. Here's a sprouter for microgreens. Green sprouts, radish sprouts, bean sprouts, so nutritious and delicious. So easy to, you don't even need to have a fun sprouter like this. You can just put the seeds in a jar and just, rinse the jar. This is kind of like a humidifier. So moving on to energy use in the home, beyond food. So looking out my south-facing window, beautiful design of this home, that it's oriented east to west with this wonderful south-facing placement. Of course, all the plants are indoors now, purifying the air. Indoor plants give you wonderful air quality. Can't have enough of them. Can't wait to get them back outside. So many indoor plants. They just won't stop growing. So here's our wildflowers, safe and sound, growing away. Even some of the ones that seemed as though they were dead are being restored. Life finds a way. So, indoor air quality important. No carpet. That stuff is just a harbinger of disease and dust and allergens. Took about 10 years to get all the carpet out of our house too, and restore these beautiful hardwood floors. They sure knew how to build a house 100 years ago. This house was built in 1913. Because the house is so old, of course there was no air conditioning, but the house was designed to not have air conditioning. Ceilings are 10 feet high, that hot air rises, keeping those windows open. Of course, these are double paned insulated windows. That kind of input is rather necessary in today's high consumption time. But ceiling fans pushing the warm air down in winter, the cold air pulling it up in the summer, right? Reverse this fan blades. You've heard about that. This is one of my favorites. This is the GoSun solar cooker. We were going to solar cook our food in class as well. Jasper pointed out the need to always have some kind of fuel source, but solar cooking, you know, that's a carbon neutral meal right there. So I put my solar cooker in the east window to cook eggs for breakfast, and in the west window to cook meat and potatoes for dinner. Anything you can fit into this tray can be cooked. On a clear day, it takes about 15 minutes to get up to 300 degrees in there. So it's the same as your oven if you got enough direct sunlight. On a cloudy day, it might take hours. Our favorite is taking this GoSun.com on camping trips with us. Actually, that's what it was designed for, like camping at the beach, hiking. We put our brats and corn on the cob in there. Skylar buying that corn on the cob from the local vendor and then sticking it in the GoSun. Don't even have to shuck that corn. Makes it taste better if you just cook it in the husks. So I mentioned no air conditioning, improving indoor air quality. So being able to open these windows when it's not 100 degrees outside and circulating air through the house, it's very important for indoor air quality. And yeah, my husband and I, we had an argument about having to keep the house closed up if you got air conditioning on. And I said, well, if I can't open my windows when it's 85 degrees outside, I don't want air conditioning at all. I don't want it when it's 100. So we moved to this house and never did get it. Sometimes you just got to lay in front of the fan with a cold rag in those dog days. Just follow the shade around the house like an old hound dog, closing the windows against the high heat, opening them up for full sun in winter, for full sun and full temperature in winter. So again, responding, observing and responding to the environment. So this is my husband's wood stove. You'll learn about the trees that have been falling down near our home in the next couple videos. That inspired him to get this wood-burning stove. It's specified for about 1,000 square feet, which is about the floor plan of our house. So really adds to the heat and the warmth and the comfort for him down here in his man cave, as well as the rest of our house. It's getting too hot almost this time of year. So this is a barrel of sawdust, fine wood chips. Again, produce no waste. And sawdust could be added to compost to increase fungal growth, could be spread as a mulch to directly compost in place. We'll continue to talk about uses for wood chips. Maybe you can find another use for sawdust. Kitty litter? Question mark. Okay, category number 3, waste management. So this is an ongoing challenge for us, to reduce waste. And sometimes the thought is, how much do you need in the first place? So, so reducing that packaging, obviously, by buying whole food. I take my jars and Howie fills them up for me, right? Producing your own, growing that sage and making that sage tea for this antiviral campaign that we're on, right? So paper waste is a huge one. Are people finally figuring out that washcloths work when they need to clean themselves after the restroom? But one of the things I like to do when I think about liquid waste down the drain, which we're kind of combining water and, physical waste management at this time, solid waste management, reusing these paper towels. So you spill some coffee, you wipe it up, and I always felt so guilty about a single-use paper towel, right? Even though I didn't always want to use the washcloth, right? But reusing that paper towel, and ultimately I like to take, even to wipe out grease in the pan, put it in that satellite container for composting. And then all you gotta do is heat that skillet and you can use it again. An iron skillet needs to be cured with the grease. And I cook in it every day, more or less. Cook multiple meals a day. I don't put that oven on unless I'm gonna pack it with 4 things. The same with that saucepan. I cook some vegetables in it, which is going to bring me to the point about saving water here. It seems like it's almost impossible to talk about solid waste and liquid waste separately, even though they're managed separately by our society. We'll be combining waste reduction with our water discussion. Of course, recycling ready to go out the door. Here's one of my favorite local purchases when we go on vacation. I'll get a new switch plate, handcrafted, artistic, somebody's art that's not too expensive. All the little crap I find on the yard goes, not in the garbage, because that's what I do. So yeah, liquid waste. When rinsing those vegetables, I just save the water, have a container ready, save the water, let it cool down, and water the plants with it. It's one of the many things. Real soap. None of that stuff out of a bottle, because then what do you do with the bottle? So moving on with water. Water was a huge challenge for me. It continues to be, because it's so easy to waste water. And our drinking water, we consume a lot of water. My husband and I both drink water. I drink tea. We drink coffee. And obviously you cook with water. So for the longest time, I know the city of Cincinnati has high quality drinking water treatment. So I would just leave the water sit on the counter, just like you would for your goldfish, and it would dechlorinate. The chlorine naturally volatilizes from the water. I didn't want to buy the pure filter, the Brita filter, because I knew I would have to be throwing away the filters. Then it hit me. Since 90% or more of what that filter is going to collect is going to be the chlorine ion, let's pre-treat with the chlorine volatilization, just open container, and then transfer it to the Brita filter. Now we can drink pure water And the heck with those bottles. In the realm of waste reduction, my husband and I both just keep our usual drink cups, glasses going, because we're going to use them again in a half an hour or, within 12 hours. So just rinse it out. We run our dishwasher about once a week because we're pre-washing, pre-soaking dishes. Important. I usually have a container in the sink or one of my pans I've used, have it soaking, and then when a new dish has to be soaked, pour that water into it, rinse it off, and then you just use the dishwasher for basically sterilization, right? The final rinse. So here's another great waste reduction measure. Sammy the doggy. He just ran away. He's spooked because of the storm that's coming. Sammy, tell the people how good you are at washing dishes, right? Tell the people how good you are at messing up the rug and throwing the dirt around and making Mommy see how I gotta clean the floors, right? And cleaning the floors can be done with a broom because there's no carpet. All right, so you guys think about it, what you like to eat, how you assess all the ways that you're procuring for your needs. Think about these things and how they relate to the permaculture principles, incorporating the marginal. When you think about the permaculture principles, they really all fit into the 3 sustainability principles of solar, relying upon renewable energy, chemical cycling, right, producing no waste, and biodiversity. And one last word on food. The more diversity of sources you have for your food, again, more security you have in your food system. Less people are going to be impacted if they're not all relying upon Kroger or the food stop to get their needs, right? Get their needs met. So diversity is health in any living system. Chemical cycling is that waste reduction, produce no waste, obtain a yield. You can obtain a yield by the fact that you're not wasting anything. Anything that's conserved can be put in your plus category on your credit side, right? There's my water ready for my tea. Thanks for listening. See you in the next video, zones 2 and 3. We're going outside.